Boom, welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's PokeMarketLab back with you with another midweek market update where we go through the Pokemon Seal market, see what's happening, and keep you informed. If that sounds good to you, grab a refreshment, grab a beverage, sit back, relax, and welcome to PokeMarketLab. All right, everyone, before we get started, a reminder, if you like what we're doing here, give us a sub. Ask a question in the comments below. I'm going to do a Q&A video hopefully later this week. Any questions related to YouTube, Pokemon investing, life, and the pursuit of happiness, anything, throw it in the comments section below. Also, reminder, check out Sleeved TCG, working with them. They are a Discord community, lots of little tips and tricks and in-stock notifications. We're still waiting on a drop, at least at the time of the recording of this video, we're still waiting on a drop of Mega Evolutions Pokemon Center ETBs. So if you want to get that in the know knowledge, get product at MSRP, who doesn't, right? Check out Sleeve TCG. I promise it pays for itself in one drop. Let's go through the market this week. The theme here this week is really ETBs across Sword and Shield through Scarlet and Violet. We're just seeing a big drawdown on the availability of ETBs, which obviously is doing great things for the prices. So let's start off with Fusion Strike here. Really shocked to see this up 11% in the last month. This is the Pokemon Center version of the ETB. It is the most beautiful Pokemon. It's one of the most beautiful ETBs. I'm trying to think of one I like better. I do love Crown Zenith, obviously the Pokemon Center ETB, but this Fusion Strike one is awesome. I wish I had one. I do not have one in my collection, unfortunately. But suffice to say that we're seeing a huge, shouldn't say huge, a nice big jump in prices across the board for Sword and Shield ETBs. I've said this for a while now. The market's just kind of, I don't want to say gobbling them up. There's just not a ton. There's liquidity there, but there's just not a lot to be had. But people are they're hopping in to grab product because it's the last time you're going to be able to get it. It's a lot cheaper than booster boxes. I would say the Fusion Strike Pokemon Center ETB is probably going to hit a wall at this point, just given where regular Fusion Strike boxes are. We've seen a crazy, I think, turnaround in what we previously saw for Pokemon Center ETBs in the Sword and Shield era. People thought, hey, there's no promo here. There's nothing's going to happen to them, so on and so forth. And again, I think people scarcity does crazy things. And that's really what it comes down to. It's scarcity. It's, hey, I can't buy a booster box at $2,000, $800, $500. Let me grab an ETB. And if I'm going to grab an ETB, why not grab a scarce one, especially with some of these prices? So yeah, Fusion Strike ETB doing great things. Lost Origin Pokemon Center ETB, same deal. I would argue this is at $212. I would argue this is actually a pretty good deal. Fusion Strike boxes are pushing 500. So a very scarce Pokemon Center. You got Giratina on there on the cover. I think this is a great buy. I think it's a decent buy at this price if you don't mind chasing. And then just getting into some regular ETBs, seeing some huge price swings here. Regular Fusion Strike ETBs up 24% in the last month. 3 months, 2% in the last month. These are just becoming what was literally a $20 box a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago. $175. It's crazy. And then this begs the question: these were printed heavily. Remember, back in Sword and Shield, if you weren't around at that time, this was the era of cheap and plentiful ETBs. We did not have booster bundles for most of this era. It was premium collections, figure collections, that kind of stuff, ETBs and booster boxes. And so ETBs were practically being given away. And it's just crazy to think, okay, so where are all the ETBs? Either we've seen a ton of ripping, or I'm guessing this stuff is getting so old at this point, the smart people that were buying these are not willing to get rid of them at this point. These are going to sit on shelves, and that is the smart play with these. Evolving Skies, Pokemon Center, regular ETBs up quite a bit, actually up 9% in the last month, which for a regular ETB is quite good, actually really good for Evolving Skies. Again, we're seeing a better percentage performance on cheaper products in Sword and Shield era, just because, again, you're getting priced out of a $2,000 booster box. There's a lot more liquidity here. I don't think people talk about that enough with the cheaper products. ETBs were always seen as not invested. I shouldn't say that. I don't think that's quite true. They were seen as the inferior product, and they are still, right, in terms of pecking order, right? You have booster box, I would argue maybe Pokemon Center ETB, booster box, ETB bundle, and so on and so forth. So But I think the turnaround we've seen in what happened in Sword and Shield, and then actually what we're seeing in Scarlet and Violet too, which we'll talk about in a few minutes here, has really kind of elevated what the ETB is. I think bundles have kind of slid into that thing that is just a cheap way of getting packs. ETBs, because of the lack of prints that we've seen on these, lack of production we've seen on these in Scarlet and Violet, have been elevated in a sort of way. And I think we're seeing some benefits. There's some spillover back into Sword and Shield on this, where it's just, again, a cheaper product. It's not seen as necessarily inferior. I would argue, I've said this before, I think it's a nostalgia play. I think if you're just casually open an Evolving Skies ETB, whatever, from Sword and Shield, and you go back 5 to 10 years and you want to get a piece of that history, maybe you opened it with your kids, maybe you were younger at the time, you're going to gravitate towards an ETB. If you're going to gravitate towards an ETB, a more expensive, more collectible version of that ETB, i.e. the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box. So it has nothing to do with the promos. It's a scarce premium item that literally just has an extra pack and a different name. So let's go on to, we're going to skip this second Pokemon Center ETB for Evolving Skies. Celebrations, not a set I talked about a ton. Pokemon Center ETB, again, this one's up 33% in the last month. We're in a hot market, but it's extremely hard to find anything that's moving quite like that. So that's pretty impressive. Celebration's not my favorite set. Certainly has, I don't think it's the set that moves Celebration. I think the packaging, what it is going to move Celebrations, but it's not for any opening pack ripping standpoint. It's just having the name of what it is. So some other notable ETBs from the Sword and Shield era, I think, that are actually good, decent buy. Actually, let's go through this last one here first. Chilling Reign Pokemon Center ETB, $159. Only 2 of these available. I'm sorry, 22 available on TCG players. So again, the scarcity on these is nuts. The liquidity, not so high, but I think, again, the liquidity matters at a certain price, right? So now you're getting to this higher territory on ETBs where there's less people likely to purchase them at that given price. Brilliant Stars, Pokemon Center ETB, same deal. More of these listed on TCG Player, actually better liquidity at this point. And then Astral Radiance, I think this is actually a pretty decent buy at this price, $130 Astral Radiance. Booster boxes are up over $400, I believe now, last time I checked. So that's a pretty decent buy. Again, any of these, if you like any of these sets from Sword and Shield, if you're interested in picking up something, you don't want to get a booster box, pick up the Pokemon Center ETBs. I think outside of Fusion Strike, Lost Origin, most of them are extremely good buys, even at $120 to $150. If you have no exposure to those sets, snag them up. So again, for the price of 1 booster box, you might be able to get 3 Pokemon Center ETBs. So with that said, I do think if you missed out, the other option here, again, is just going regular ETBs in the Sword and Shield era, which I don't think is a terrible option. You got Lost Origins at 110, and then we go into the cheaper ones here at, if my page loads here, yeah. So you got Brilliant Stars under $100, both Chilling Reigns under $100 still, which is crazy for how few of those are out there. Pokemon Go, I think I would skip at this point. I'd rather spend an extra $30 and go on the Pokemon Center version. Astral Radiance, again, all of these, any of these sets, there's some of these are still 4 Horseman sets under $100. Regular ETBs, and then we're going to look at Scarlet and Violet ETBs in a second and see how expensive those are. These, considering how few are out there on the market, how old they are, how great these sets are I think ridiculously cheap. I think those are really easy pickups. I'd be picking them up myself if I didn't have some heavy exposure to this. Silver Tempest at $80, I think, is a fine buy. So again, if you're looking for something to get, maybe Scarlet and Violet's, you burnt out, maybe you purchased a whole bunch of it, you're pissed about trying to, you're buying stuff that's current that you're paying $90 for, go buy something that's old. Go buy, again, Chilling Reign is fantastic. Brilliant Stars, for a couple $100, you get, an ETB of each. I think is a fantastic buy. Lots of great future to those, and lots of upside potential, I should say. All right, let's talk about Scarlet and Violet ETBs. We got Surging Sparks on the screen here. The lack of availability and reprints for Scarlet and Violet ETBs is still kind of boggling the mind. So we're getting to the point, we're going to be leaving Scarlet and Violet fairly soon. Before you know it, summer's going to be behind us. We're going to be in Mega Evolutions. And we're missing a lot of reprints for ETBs. So there's a lot of things floating around in my head about, okay, why is that? Again, is this Is this an actual effort by the Pokemon Company to avoid reprinting ETBs? Are they so focused on current sets they can't go back and reprint them at this point? We've had a huge gap now at this point between when we've heard about any substantial reprints. Remember, we're constantly getting product into the market. We've been getting prismatic evolutions pretty consistently. There's been no word of anything prior to, let's say, Journey Together at this point in terms of rumors of substantial reprints. I've seen a dry up in Surging Sparks ETBs. I've seen no drops of those recently. Even 151 bundles have dried up. We've not seen those as much. Again, I don't know if this is just because we got so many releases here and they're just trying to focus on product for those releases and the volume of those, which I think could be it. I mean, Destined Rivals ETBs. I thought Destined Rivals was a great drop. I thought there was quite a bit of product there. The demand was just so high. But I think the effort was there from a production standpoint and aligning production resources with an attempt to meet the demand of the market. So, yeah, so we're just missing a lot of ETBs from Scarlet and Violet. So the question is, okay, we're hearing about production coming online, additional production capacity coming online. We're going to be leaving Scarlet and Violet Mega Evolution, starting kind of a mini block before we head into the next era. So what happens? Does that attention to these sets in the new era, if they're bombshell sets, if Mega Evolutions blows our socks off, we could get to a point where the focus shifts hard from Scarlet and Violet to this new era to the point where demand wanes like dramatically, which could open up some opportunity for the Pokemon Company to get some relief there, some prices to get some relief, and them to be able to reprint some stuff and kind of level the playing field a bit, which I think would be welcome on my end in terms of collecting. There's no indication that they'll stop printing Scarlet and Violet. I think anything from even Paradox, Rift, Temporal onward is still at risk at this point. I think early SV era, we probably have to face the realization that if we haven't heard anything recently, that's probably gone at this point. And I think we're seeing that in booster box prices for Obsidian Flames, Paldea, that we're not going to get any more products. ETBs from that era are spiking pretty hard, or have even. Obsidian Flames spiked pretty hard. But again, we're seeing, what happens to the back half of Scarlet and Violet when we go to Mega Evolutions. Some of these cheaper products, so we're going to get more ETBs. Are they just too difficult to produce? And they just can't be done in any kind of volume. Maybe it's a temporary thing where because of the supply chain issues, to try to align supply chain with production and then obviously demand, that this is an effort by the Pokemon Company to just pause that, shoot, bundles, do booster boxes, and then maybe circle back on ETBs at some point. Again, that's all speculation at this point. My mind's thinking about, okay, what happens to ETBs at this point? So we're seeing it's not weird that some of the Scarlet and Violet ETBs are expensive. Again, Surging Sparks on the screen, we have at $107 for the regular ETB. I wouldn't chase it at that price, but I'm saying that from a position of having a position of this, right? So I'm not, I wasn't left out. I think that's a little risky though for me. I think if I could spend, for 9 packs and $100 more, I could get a booster box. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me. It doesn't. But again, I'm not saying it's not worth it. Like the amount of product that's on the market for these is low enough that it makes sense, right? It does make sense. We're seeing, again, I talked about Obsidian Flames, ETBs, 66 available, $100 ETB. And yes, it's getting to the point where for how old it is, for how much has to be reprinted in the Scarlet and Violet era, for the fact that we are moving into another era, the confidence that this is potentially going to go untouched is certainly starting to increase. I would say the same goes for Paldea Evolve, pushing $100 again. I think that's that time. It's not just the time; it's the other factors. We're hitting that magical 2-year mark, but there's other stuff at play here as well. So looking just from a high level, everything's above MSRP, what we would consider to be MSRP at this point. Surging Sparks at the top there, Obsidian Flames at the top. Shrouded Fable, Pokemon Center, ETB, probably one of the better buys right now. Seriously, I talked about this in weeks past. Take a look at that. For a little bit, the same price you would pay for Obsidian Flames. If I got $100 to blow Obsidian Flames ETB or Pokemon Center or Shrouded Fable ETB, I'm gonna go Shrouded Fable. Let's see, Destined Rivals Pokemon Center on regular ETB, $90, Twilight Masquerade, they're all expensive. So we have to go down 65 to 67 bucks is cheapest with Temporal Forces and Shrouded Fable. I think the Temporal Forces ETBs, I don't love the box art on those, but I think those are actually a really good price for what is a really, really solid set. Paradox Rift 2 as well. So I don't think those are terrible buys. I don't think you're chasing some kind of crazy price at this point. But it's just, it's crazy to see how fast things shift from literally, if I've said this before, I'm sorry to repeat myself, $20 Sword and Shield ETBs last November on Black Friday. So we're not even a year ago to those boxes being over $100 now, to practically giving away ETBs from Scarlet and Violet that no one wanted, and all of them are expensive now. All of them are above MSRP. It's just crazy. It's crazy. So again, I think don't shy away from ETBs. I think they're a good investment. I think they're actually a nostalgic play. I think especially if you can get them at a reasonable price, I think that's the big key thing. That's number one. And anything else right now is what are you buying it for at what price, right? So be careful chasing prices of things. Look at premium collections. Look at blister packs. Look at sleeved booster packs. Those are fantastic if you can, kind of grab those in the checkout line at the store, either for ripping or, again, if you're just squirreling stuff away for the future, trying to get a little growth out of it. You're collecting, I think. And what's clear to me too is not just from the purchasing side of things, but again from the liquidity side of things. In the future, there's going to be demand for those cheaper products. For the very reason I'm talking about right now, there will be demand for those products in the future. It's a cheaper product to offload. The percentage gains are going to be better in the short term, right? They're going to have more upside potential, versus an Evolving Skies booster box, which is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, again. But there's a different type of people that is going to buy a box at $2,000 versus a Evolving Skies ETB at $300 or $400. Very different, literally a different demographic, not just the person, whether they like it or not. You're focusing on a different demographic, a different economic class. So that becomes difficult when you're trying to offload a product in 5 years, which again, even if you're collecting, right, you're not looking into, getting any financial gain out of any of this. That matters, right? Being able to offload the product, being able to trade for something else, how expensive that product is matters in the long term. So let me know what you think in the comments section below. That's our midweek market update. Again, we would love some questions down below in the comments section. Again, anything related to running a Pokemon channel, Pokemon YouTube channel, YouTube in general, life, collecting, investing, any of those type of things. Would love some cool questions. I love those kind of videos. Gets the brain working and thinking about things that maybe I didn't think about before, right? So, and of course, we would love your subscription if you're like what we're doing here at PokeMarketLab. And with that, we will see you on the next one. PokeMarketLab